they go factory, and all of a sudden now you're getting work stuff. So it's coming straight from Suzuki, and it's Yoshimura, and they're micro polishing the transmission, dude. And the ECUs are programmed to recycle the rev limiter, so you never rev out on a jump, dude. And it's insane, dude. I'm like, the bike is unfair. There's no way you're going to beat a bike like that with anything from the showroom floor, dude. There's no chance.
What's up, everybody? It's Dave Drakes with The Collective Experience, and we are back for another TCE interview. This time I'm super excited because we have amateur phenom, ex-pro turned commentator now, Ian Trettel. What's up, dude?
Hey, man, how's it going, dude? Glad to be here.
Yeah, doing good. Pretty pumped to get you on, man. For a lot of people that have watched The Collective Experience and stuff like that, they know that I'm very much in the early 2000s to mid 2000s era. That's when I came up, like, you know, racing amateurs and doing stuff on local level. So I watched you ride for like forever, man. Like, you know what I mean? I had the Ian Trettel Suzuki posters on my wall and stuff. So for me, this is super cool. So I'm pretty stoked to get you on and talk and chat and just bench race, man.
Heck yeah, dude. That's awesome, man. So yeah, those were like the golden years, right? Like some of those like early 2000s, a lot of good guys came through then. That's really cool.
I know, like, it's going to make us sound super dated and super old to be like, yeah, 05 was like when we came up, you know what I mean? So
not at all, but it's just like, I mean, it's just like right now, our generation, it's kind of like where a lot of the faster guys came from, which is like right there. And like guys getting fast all the time too, but just a lot of the guys hanging up on your wall and shit, dude. Like, they came there around those times, you know?
Exactly. So we'll get to the whole, backstory, the whole, AM days, pro days. What have you been up to lately, man? Like, dude, a lot of cool content on IG and stuff like that, man.
Like, man. So I've just been, so obviously, like, I had the injury, and I've been staying busy, and I've always been into tech myself. Like, I've always been into gaming, and whether it's like modding out Xbox, I had JTagged my Xbox, and I was doing 10th Prestige lobbies in Call of Duty 4 and stuff. Yeah, dude. I mean, I had rapid fire controllers. I was doing all that stuff, dude. I had I brought an Xbox with me to Loretta's last year that I raced pro, dude. I was running a D ranking controller in my hotel overnight to get to her for a booster account, dude. Straight up, no lie, dude. I was getting like 20 game 50s and doubles, man. So just so people know, like, I this is not like weird for me. I'm a huge nerd, so I was trying to find ways. Like, I got into training stuff like kind of like in 2013. But the problem was, like, I felt like dude, so you have to always be the track, and it's tough because the weather and all this BS. And I'm like, well, I love watching people play games from my computer. How can we make motocross more of like a tech, and I don't know, something. So I want to try to bring some sort of tech environment into it. Like, kind of get technical with a breakdown, and just whatever it is, just change it up a little bit. Like, so I'm getting better with the post-production. I have a friend who edits for me, and we're going to get better into like doing on-screen animation and kind of pointing stuff out. But I wanted to break it down and do more of like a textile review, like unboxing kind of thing for motocross videos.
That's cool. So I dig that.
Do you get it, dude? You kind of, I mean, I hope I know it's kind of weird, but it's different. So,
well, I mean, it's cool to me because moto is taking so many different forms when it comes to the content creation side. So it just amazes me every day. There's a new medium, a new form for people to express themselves, like through moto, whether it's doing something like you do, or, we've got people, like the Roto Moto guys that, like, he's doing the full stat sheet for the Pulp MX fantasy league. So there's so many people out there that are providing all this awesome content for us to digest. And I think what you're doing is freaking phenomenal. So how did you get into that almost like race breakdown, race review, riding technique review? Like what sparked that?
Well, just because I was trying to find a way to train online, dude. So I started out by it hit me because one way that I kind of got going again after I got hurt was just watching videos of people doing stuff. And I was like, there's so much value in just consuming content online. Yeah. Just like you can just hear people give advice, and just in general, or just like watching somebody do something, you can learn so much. And I'm like, dude, I could do this in video because half the stuff I'm doing is just talking anyways. I'm not physically doing much on the bike to somebody to train them. So I should be able to do this on a video anyways. And especially if you could really show someone doing it correctly, I mean, and you break it down that way, people are like, oh shit, that's cool. I don't ride, but that's so cool to learn it. Even if they do ride, they can maybe do it themselves. They can at least have an idea of what's going on and try it themselves.
Exactly. And one thing I like that you do is, especially the last video you did of Cairoli hitting that right-hander kind of off cambery.
Yeah.
And you kind of emphasize like a step by step what he was doing, and it was actually like watching a pro, so it's actually really cool.
Yeah.
And you kind of harped on like, it's cool, like, you obviously want to have good technique, but man, what was key was like momentum. So that's something that like a lot of people we're getting hammered, especially nowadays, with technique, be perfect technique. And that was a really cool, and it could be because, again, we grew up in the era where you just got to freaking hammer down.
Yeah.
It was just really cool to see a different side, a different technique, a different take on what it takes to go fast and what things you can focus on besides technique. Obviously, that's good. We want to see good technique, but there's a lot more to it than just being, super perfect with your feet and stuff like that.
Yeah. And dude, a lot of that stuff came from like what I've learned going through my injury with the brain and stuff. So like a lot of stuff that like I'll do something, I'll talk to my doctors and I'll say, hey, I'm doing something and I swear it's helping. Does that make sense? And they would just be like, does it feel like it's working? And I'm like, yeah, well then it doesn't really matter, because like the placebo effect is so real, right? Like that it is. You literally, it doesn't even matter. Like if you believe something to be true, it ends up making it true. And so it's all in your head. And so that's why I kind of like show them like, hey, just because someone tells you something doesn't really necessarily make it true. You can make stuff work if you work at it hard enough too.
Exactly.
So some of that,
I definitely agree. So let's skate backwards a little bit. For those people out there who might not have as much background on your racing career, give us a little quick snippet and walk us through memory lane of M days racing for Suzuki.
Yeah, dude. So let's see. I'll try to. So I grew up I live in Elon, North Carolina.
Okay.
I grew up in Graham, North Carolina, which is about it's like 15, 20 minutes just east of here.
Mm-hmm.
I grew up in Graham. Started riding. We started riding like around like age 4 or 5 maybe. My parents bought me like electric one of those like electric freaking like Razor like 4-wheeler things, like the late ones at Walmart. Started tearing that thing up. Then got a PW with training wheels. Did laps in like our residential backyard. Then we built a jump, and then started going to a local. Then I got a 50. Then we bought the farm. Yeah. I'm kind of fast forwarding through this because this all kind of happens pretty quick. So, but we get a farm. I start riding like little 50s. I qualify for Loretta's in '98. I'm I think 5 or 6, maybe 5 years old. I get in as an alternate. I do terrible. I think I finished 36th place.
Okay.
The next year, I started racing more after this first trip at Loretta. I started racing more of the local tracks around here. The next year at Loretta's in '99. I qualify again. I win all 3 motos. I race people like Blake Baggett and Tome. If you go back and look at the roster, there was a lot of guys in that class. So that race kind of put me on the map. And then I started racing more. Then I got on the King Cobra. Then we started really like hitting all the actual all the amateur nationals, like the spring nationals and the mini-O's, and kind of. And then by the time I got in 65, Suzuki found me and picked me up, and that's when I started hitting the road and going traveling. So I moved to Florida. I was making money, and so it was like that became like that was when it kind of became clear that was going to be an actual career. Yeah. And then around age 18 is when I signed my pro contract. Moved to California. I top 10 my first outdoor national at Southwick. Top 5 first Supercross at Houston, and second race at Daytona is when I got the head injury. Or the second race at Daytona, second East Coast round practice, I crashed, had the head injury.
Man, so I want to get back a little bit. That big transition from like the 50s, right? Like when you went there, got like 36, and then when you went the following year and won every moto, what was that trigger for you? Because I think a lot of people, that happens to us, right? Like we all go to a big race, we all do bad, and we get so dejected. You came back that next year and kicked ass. What do you think made the difference for you in transitioning from a person that?
Dude, I don't think, and I tell people this all the time, man. Like I don't think it's really hard to. I think you just have to have fun with it and see where, because there's no, I mean, like, I don't know what I was just having fun doing something, dude, and it started happening. Like, you find that flow. Like, you ever seen that? There's an image of it. They call it like the flow state, where it's like a line drifting between anxiety and boredom.
Yeah. Yep.
So it's like, it's kind of just like slightly push yourself kind of like past comfort, and then also having fun at the same time, where you're just kind of always just like pumped to wake up and kind of go ride. You're just like having a good ass time, dude.
Yeah.
So I think it was just like a matter of like it's still a combination of having fun and like putting in work, dude.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's really an answer to that. Like, I mean, you have to learn how to lose because you're gonna lose more than you're gonna win for sure. So
Exactly. That is
if you're having
so
fun, you
true.
don't really care about losing. You just want to go try more.
Exactly. That is so true. I tell people that all the time.
Yeah.
This sport, it really teaches you hard work because you will lose a lot more than you win. So
Yes.
it's definitely
That's
tough.
definitely true.
So
Yeah.
that's cool. So like I said before we hit record and stuff like that,
Yeah.
a big fan of yours as I was coming up through the racing 80s and being a fat dumpy kid on a Cowie. I definitely remember I got in the ranks. I forget what year it was.
Yeah.
And there was a whole segment on you, and that track looked so gnarly.
Yeah,
That was your private farm, yeah?
That's the farm in Graham I'm talking about. Yeah.
Okay.
So
cool.
when we first got into it, so like definitely stop me if you find any parts interesting. Because the story's insane. It's long. It's 15 years of freaking of a story. So I can't tell the whole thing in a pod. So you gotta stop me where everything's on. So yeah, we got this farm.
Yep.
It was like 30 acres.
Mhm.
We flattened the whole thing. My dad is like, he's like, who's the track builders around here? And so we hear about Mark Barnett. Mark comes builds this insane track. Dude. Like, so I go from like literally a backyard track to like this insane track, and I figure it out. And that, I mean, I don't know. At some point, well, having a track for sure was a benefit. I think at that point, I don't think it's necessary to succeed because people do it all the time without having a track. So, but I think it does help. Obviously, like it was definitely a tool that I was able to use, learn how to jump and ride and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, but that track, that's exactly, they filmed all that stuff at that farm. And what's funny is those guys, I actually met those guys before they even were like, I met Wes Williams when he just had a Sony Handycam and he was doing it for fun, dude. And they came to they were like, we have this idea for making motocross movies and we want to do it. And him and his buddies came to my house and they stayed on my couch and they filmed all the stuff. We played paintball and I watched them grow that business like from start. It was really cool to watch those guys start like literally like stuff like this. They're just like doing stuff for fun, making videos. And and now they have this massive company. It's really cool.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome. That's like GOAT creation days before.
Exactly.
Verb was Verb. Yeah. So those are the guys that putting out content regularly. That's how you knew what was happening in amateur.
It's cool because I think so many people look at stuff like that as like people like as a finished product, whether it's myself or like Stewart, and they don't ever look at where they started, dude. And like you'd be surprised how much just BS or just freaking dirt some people have gone through to get where they are, man. Like
exactly
when you start like watching commencement speeches and so people talk about their story, they're super badass. You're like, whoa, what? This dude was serving ice cream, you have no idea that people go through some stuff to become who they are, and that's just part of how they get there.
Exactly. I think that grind, that extra, that little bit of grit, that carries you so much farther. And we hear the stories. We can translate it to moto. We hear about Stu and Ricky, right? How they grew up super poor. They didn't have the best bikes. They didn't have the blah blah blah. All they had was like, hey, we got to go race. We need to make this money. To figure out how we're gonna go to the next race, and we got a penny pinch and blah blah blah. I think that just fortifies you so much more to go the distance. I think that's true of any amateur that was really sure you put in so much time on the seat, I'm sure you have stories.
And I think you can even see it too, man. Like look at who's really thriving right now.
Yeah.
Some of the guys who I think you can see it too with the way people move through pro. Like some of the guys who maybe are underdogs their whole career and they go pro, and all of a sudden they're still losing, but they're just as good as they were before, but they're used to losing, so they kind of figure it out quicker.
Yeah. Yep.
Where some guys like maybe Adam or someone like. I think Adam is insane, but I think that the fact that he won so much as an amateur, then he went pro and kind of having to refigure out how to win again, kind of like I think it fumbles you a little bit. Like it kind of throws you off. And you're just like, whoa, like, wait a minute. You're not used to going through the pack and stuff. So you kind of got to reevaluate and like humble yourself and get used to losing again, dude.
Yeah.
That's kind of tough I think that's tough to figure out sometimes, unless you go in there and figure out right away.
Yeah.
Which some guy like Adam has been able to do that so far, but people like Webb have been really good at just freaking winning with just hard work, dude.
Exactly. And that takes you so freaking far.
Yeah.
So that takes me back to a little bit of the training side. So obviously, like we said before, there's so much emphasis on technique and training and all that other stuff. Did you train the same way when you were on 80s and super minis? Like, did you train the same way that some of these 85 and super mini kids are training now?
I think so. I
Seems
mean,
like
I
it seems like
always,
they're like marathon runner type training, dude. They're going all out, you know?
yeah, I mean, I was, I mean, my parents, my dad was always, my dad was a triathlete when I growing up. So
Okay.
I always like I was working out from probably like 11 or 12 years old. I was like doing road bike rides and stuff. And then, but I didn't actually hire a trainer until I
Mhm.
was going in A class.
Okay.
So yeah, I guess it's different now, right? Because guys are making more money than they were when I was racing. So it's
Mm.
changing, right? But
Yeah.
I didn't, it wasn't, that wasn't real, there was no, when I first was coming up, like MTF just came out and people were just
Yep.
starting to do stuff like that. So it wasn't like it is now. It was just a little bit different, dude.
Yeah. So how did that help you transition into you know, making your pro debut at Southwick, which by the way is my home track. So
Oh, for
great,
real? You're a
great
New
track.
England guy, dude?
New England guy, born and raised
No
Connecticut.
way, dude.
Yes, sir. I grew up
We might have
30
some mutual
minutes.
friends then, dude. That's
Oh
awesome.
yeah, I'm sure we do, dude. Like 30 minutes south of Southwick in Connecticut, man, right over the border. Just drive up, and that was actually I had my very first race there. So imagine like a kid that sucks in C class on 80s trying to do Southwick. So
Yeah.
it was gnarly. But yeah, how did that training kind of help you transition into going pro?
Well, I mean, I don't think it freaking really did because it's so much different, dude.
Okay.
Like, I mean, yeah, you're because I don't think no matter what you do, you're still not ready, right? Because it's 30 minutes and you never anything like that as an amateur. So
Yeah.
even like as even Loretta's would feel long compared to you would train, do 30s all summer long. They go to Loretta's and 20 would still feel somewhat difficult.
Yeah.
It wasn't like it was an easy moto.
Yep.
And then you go to Southwick and you're like, oh shit, it's just now halfway and I have arm pumps so bad. And it's just like, these guys are insane. So I think it's more mental than it is actually training. Just a matter of like when you look for the white flag or the halfway mark.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like you only like I mean, you growing up, you did 10-minute races your whole life, right? Like, so 10 minutes is like your normal race. If you did 15, that would feel long. If 30 was your normal race, I think 30 would feel normal. Yeah. You know, I think it's more psychological than it is actually fitness. I think it's just like a matter of like what feels long to you, dude.
Yeah. Oh, I definitely agree with
that. That's kind of my theory with it, at least. Because like just mentally, you're like, oh, it's 30 minutes. I'm gonna be racing so long, rather than being like, oh, it's just a normal race.
I think we all feel that because there's some days, and you can't. I don't know what the rhyme or reason are, but there's some days where I can go up there and I can do a 15-minute moto. Not obviously not pro speed, but like I can go up there and ride. There's other days I go up there, I do 2 laps. I'm gassed. I'm done. And it's all mental. Could be even an easier track. You know what I mean? No ruts, no nothing. I'm gassed in 2 laps. So I think it really, it's that mental, whatever mindset.
Yeah. It's in your head, dude, because like, I don't know. I mean, when I got hurt, I got super into, I wanted to just like learn everything I could about the brain. And I started reading a lot of books I started reading a lot of, stuff about Sam Harris. And he was talking about what pain is, what the actual chemical like structure of brain chemistry of pain actually is. It's really all it actually is just you're afraid of bearing another second of what you're already bearing, dude. So like you're already doing it, you're just afraid of doing it for a second longer. So really, it's just like it's just in your freaking head, dude. Like, have you ever actually fell over from exhaustion? No one's your brain just turns it off before you get there, dude.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of thinking that half of the motocross is the same way. Like if you're just 30s feel long because you're not used to doing 30s. If you're used to doing 40s, 30s would feel short, dude.
Oh, for sure. And I agree with that notion. I think that's.
I mean, that's just my hunch here. Obviously, because I didn't have much time to race for nationals, but it seems like from what I don't see why that wouldn't be true to a certain extent, dude.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's some physical properties of like muscle and muscular endurance and stuff, but I'm just saying psychologically, some of this stuff is in your head, dude.
Oh, for sure. I agree with that 100%. And I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that would agree with you as well. So do you think that was one of your biggest hurdles going pro or a big hurdle for any pro when they make the transition is that fitness that like, oh crap, I've only been doing 10 or 15s and like this 30 is like what's really holding me back?
I mean, some guys figure it out there. I mean, Barsha and Tomac both figured it out their first race.
Yeah.
And so it's just like but those are anomalies, I think.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not everyone does that. It's a matter of like, you get in pro, you get a few good starts, figure out the pace, and you're like, oh, I got it. You just hold on for 10, you hold on for 25 one week, and then you hold on for 30.
Yeah.
You just keep going.
Exactly.
It's a learning curve until you figure it out. Some guys figure it out sooner than others. Some guys get hurt before they figure it out, like I did. So it just, I think it's a game of freaking odds and just kind of yeah, risk and reward.
Yeah. So I want to ask you, what is one thing that you loved compared to amateurs when you were a pro, and one thing you hated about going pro? And again, comparing that to the AM days.
Mm. I guess who you see there. I mean, I didn't have a lot of time in the pro scene, so it's hard for me to. I don't like talking about stuff that I don't really know a lot about.
Yeah.
So like I only really did 2 races or 3 as a pro, and so it's hard for me to say. I never traveled the whole season, so I don't know if I can really speak on that, dude. But as far as an amateur, it was fun to like traveling in the motorhome with your family. That was kind of cool because there's always stories behind that stuff, dude. Like when I watched the Deegan vlog, now I'm like, if I had a camera, I was like, I could have had so many followers. Just like, you know what I'm saying? I was like, I was like, oh my god, dude. Because like some of the stories that you get in those moments is something you're never gonna forget. It's just like, you know, what I'm talking about, dude. Like it's just so it's miserable, but that's the stuff that you look back on and miss, man.
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
It's such a struggle, but you look back at that shit was so awesome, dude.
It is, and I wish someone would tap you on the shoulder and say, hey, these are the moments that you're gonna remember forever. Like cherish these opportunities, because one day it just stops. You know what I mean? And you just don't go back to it, which kind of sucks. But you know,
you're totally right, man.
It's a super weird deal. So let's fast forward a little bit. The industry's quite different again than you know, the early to mid 2000s and stuff like that. One thing that I find interesting is just how prominent and how dominant Suzuki was when, you know, I was on racing AMs and all other stuff, racing 80 Suzukis and super minis, and how much they've fallen by the wayside now. And I look at people like yourself, like Nico Izzy, like Davey Millsaps, like that was the bike to ride when you were on 85 super minis, 125, 250. Like that was the bike. Do you have any input or any thoughts on like how weird it is to see Suzuki be like the bike that like really no one wants to touch? When again, remember, like that was the bike. We even had a whole race dedicated to only Suzuki's. The RM Cup was like one of the biggest races of the year for so many people. Now, if you say there's an all Suzuki race, you're lucky to fill one gate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I think it's just like I think it's probably like just a natural trend though. Like I think stuff gets cool and goes up and down all the time, right? I think it'll probably come back. It doesn't matter. I don't know. I mean, they don't have. I don't know what are they like. I don't know. I'm not following stuff on the bike stuff that much, so it's hard for me to speak on that too.
Yeah.
But I think it's a natural trend because I mean, when I first went amateur, KTM's were like the bike to ride, and then Suzuki just came with the 65, and that's when they started getting big. Started putting guys in the 65, and they weren't anything at the time.
Yep.
So it was like they really only were big for like the time that I was amateur, then they kind of fell off. So that it just could be just a cycle. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I'd love to see it come back because I kind of miss the days of like when you would see a Honda, a Cowie, a Yami, a KTM, Suzuki out, like they were dicing and not just all Yamis or not just all KTMs, not just all.
Wasn't that the same period that like Carmichael was dominating? I mean, those were the years that Carmichael was going on the right? They had him, so that could be part of it.
Exactly. And I think a lot of it because my normal job 9 to 5 is I design motorcycles. So you know, as an engineer, I'm like, man, I see so many cool things that could be done with this platform to bring it back to like, you know, prominence, man, to make it one of the cool, you know, top 5 you know, bangers when you're looking at top 5 racers, man. So I get kind of like, man, they used to be so cool, dude. I used to love watching Suzuki's rip, and now you don't see them anymore. You know what I mean? So
that's cool, dude.
Hopefully they come back.
What kind of ideas do you have, like design, like, and like, what kind of engineer are you, dude? I work with engineers all the time.
Oh, so I'm a mechanical engineer. So
are you really, man?
Yeah,
I work with those guys all the time.
Oh yeah. So we're a nerdy bunch, but I was actually a mechanic before that, and I was like, okay, I'll go to school and check it out and see what it's like. But I mean, just looking at the bike as a whole, I mean, obviously they're a little weighty, so you'd want to work on that. But I think what they really messed up on, which is super weird for me to say as the engineer, is their marketing, man. I think they did a horrible job at marketing, because that Suzuki, the 450 and 250, it's a little bit different than when it was in 16, 17. They made a big transition. I would have loved to have seen them like market the change a little bit better, lighten the bike up, give us a little bit more punch in the motor, and really drive home how solid of a bike it is, and how, you know, maybe even drive home how affordable it is. You're not paying, you know, 11 grand out the door for a dirt bike. You're paying 8 or 9. You know what I mean? So
something really cool that you would appreciate that like talking about transitional periods is when when I was in A class, I had what I was getting good. Remember like PR2, like some of these like home kind of like home shop that were doing really good motor
work. Yes.
So I was getting good equipment as an amateur that you could basically like local kind of sponsor stuff. Yeah. And then I got on the Rockstar candidate team, which was they weren't factory when I signed with them. They were still like satellite teams. They were getting basically really good pro circuit stuff that you could buy pretty much. And that stuff was amazing. Like I got 8 kits and I'm like, all this stuff's incredible, dude. Yeah. So, and that was just like, and this is still I'm still talking about amateur stuff here. So this on the amateur, I'm just getting 8 suspension testing with like bones like Glen Helen. And I'm kind of getting a taste of what it's like to have really good stuff that you can buy. And that was sick. I'm like, okay, this is naughty. This seems like unfair. And then all of a sudden, fast forward another level to the pro level, like satellite team. Mm-hmm. So then you're getting even better, more expensive stuff that pro circuit can get. Yeah. And that stuff's even better. And I'm like, holy crap, dude. And then they go factory, and all of a sudden now you're getting work stuff. So it's coming straight from Suzuki, and it's Yoshimura, and they're micro polishing the transmission, dude. And the ECUs are programmed to recycle the rev limiter, so you never rev out on a jump, dude. And it's insane, dude. I'm like, the bike is unfair. There's no way you're going to beat a bike like that with anything from the showroom floor, dude. There's no chance. Like,
so that was one of my next questions was like, is that a huge advantage? And I guess you just,
oh my God. Yeah. It's insane. Like when I wrote it, I freaked out because it was insane. Yeah. Cause it was like it was like 3 noticeable clicks. It was like good amateur pro level stuff. Yeah. It was like decent pro level stuff. And then it was like factory. And I'm sure it even goes beyond that. Yeah. So, cause I haven't talked to some guys who were on the team. They were talking about like different stuff that they had written in KTMs, and they were talking about, so it goes, I'm sure there's so many levels of that stuff, but yeah, it gets really intricate and cool what they can do with bikes at that level, man.
Yeah, that's freaking awesome, man. I've always wondered, like, do you really feel that big of a difference when you go from level
X, I mean, dude, do you know what it feels like to shift a micro polish? You're literally, you're moving like a feather, dude. Like, it's just like, it doesn't grind. It just clicks, and that's it. Yeah.